So, the Claidheamh Mòr. How often do you really see this sword in use? Not including free-to-plays who literally have no other sword, how many veteran TF2 players do you see wielding this weapon? In the total amount of Demo Knights we see on a day-to-day basis, the most common melee weapons they tend to use are the Eyelander, followed by the Frying Pan, you know, for the memes, then the Half-Zatoichi, or Zatoichi, or I don't care, the Scotsman's Crutch Cutter, the Scottish Handshake, the Persian Persuader, and lastly, the Caber. Yeah, for whatever reason, the Claidheamh Mòr is not part of that group. You almost never see this thing in-game. You see the Caber. Think about that. You see the Ullapool Caber more than you see the Claidheamh Mòr. Why is that? For me, whenever I see someone using the Claidheamh Mòr, it's always a moment of,
now that is not something you see every day.
And there's a good reason behind that. Whether you are a full committed Demo Knight, a Hybrid Knight, or even just a stock demo who uses a sword, the Claidheamh Mòr doesn't fit. So, why is this? Well, to understand that, we have to start with its history. We are going way back, May 20th, 2010. The Eyelander, until this day, was the only sword in the game. Keep in mind, the Scotsman's Skullcutter was not considered a sword at this point in the game's development. I know that was technically in the game first, but again, wasn't a sword. And it still shouldn't be. And the Eyelander was still a pretty epic sword to live up to. With a downside of minus 25 HP on wearer and no random crits, the Eyelander with 5 heads was able to bring Demoman's total health up to 210, increase his melee range, restore 15 health on kill, boost the damage of the Charging Charge up to 75 HP of damage given on a single shield bash, and it allowed its user to run almost as fast as a scout. See, I say almost because the booties didn't exist at this point yet, so technically Hybrid Knight was the only way to play Demo Knight. Also, the Eyelander stopped giving HP and speed around 4 heads, but it still increased the charge's damage to 5 heads. Yeah, it's a little confusing, but bear with me. So, on May 20th, 2010, what would be the stats of this new sword to rival that of the Eyelander? Well, to start with its downsides, it had minus 15 HP on wearer. Okay, cool, so that's a little bit less of a punishment than the minus 25 HP from the Eyelander. No random crits, yeah, that's to be expected, and that's it. That's it for its downsides. Alright, neat, so it seems like a less punishing Eyelander at this point. Might be a good choice for more casual players. So, what are its upsides? Maybe it could only collect 2 or 3 heads. Maybe restore a little HP on kill. No, what's that? It has the same longer melee range and half a second longer of charge time? Half a second longer charge time. While the Alibaba's wee booties do not exist, and you can't control your turning at all. Alright, so why would I use this over the Eyelander again? In a really specific situation where you have a long, straight part of the map and your target holds still the whole time it takes you to get to him? And unlike the Eyelander, you can't even get that missing HP it takes back after a couple of kills. Yeah, so this thing is just going to collect dust on the last page of my backpack, isn't it? Time passed and most players forgot about this rather useless sword, only ever seeing it when players didn't yet have anything else unlocked. I was one of those players, the Claidheamh Mòr was the first thing I unlocked for demo. Or just because people thought it looked cool. Then, an old mod to replace the Eyelander with the Claidheamh Mòr's model put an end to even that reason to use it. Over this time, more swords would be added to the game that, while still not as great as the Eyelander, at least gave players a good reason to use them and changed up their playstyles enough to leave a unique experience. Or, you know, just to use the Zatoichi's random crits as a crutch. Yeah, back then, a sword had random crits, and it was a nightmare. Don't worry though, it's not like Valve would ever make that mistake again. Oh yeah, and on top of all of that crap, the Claidheamh Mòr was bugged at this point and couldn't destroy sticky bombs, but no one really cared enough when they finally fixed that anyway. Actually, come to think of it, the Claidheamh Mòr and the Eyelander did go through one real stat change in this time. April 14th, 2011. I didn't even need to look this up on the wiki, cause I was there this day. With one of the stupidest updates I have ever seen, they changed both of these swords to restore their random crits, but give them 25% less damage. Yeah, nice going there, Valve. Make players rely on luck instead of timing their charges, and, oh yeah, let's also take into consideration that fucking claymores do less damage than an empty bottle now. Valve then proceeded to shit their pants and undid the update only 12 hours later. After this, the Claidheamh Mòr would keep its original stats up until Smithsmith 2014, where it was given the stat of 25% charge on kill. Okay, so now it's a worse Persian Persuader. So what? Why should this update change anything? It changed everything! After the Tide Turner was nerfed to only refill 75% charge on kill, the 25% charge on kill from the Claidheamh Mòr became the only way to play Ping Pong Demo again. And if you don't know what Ping Pong Demo is, I'll let this clip speak for itself. So yes, finally a reason to use this sword, and with the Tide Turner, there's actually a reason to have the extra charge duration too. On top of that, you don't even need the Alibaba's booties. You can still carry a grenade launcher with no negative effects like using the Persian Persuader. And into 2015, the Claidheamh Mòr was second in command only to the Islander. Heck, around Smithsmith, the Claidheamh Mòr actually did surpass the Islander in how many people used it. Surely this would be enough. End of story, right? This is Valve we are talking about. The Claidheamh Mòr had its time in the spotlight for a good year. Then, the Tough Break update happened. Along with all swords receiving a deploy and holster penalty, in an attempt to nerf Hybrid Knights into the ground, the Claidheamh Mòr was even more unlucky. Its unique stat of extra charge duration that no other weapon in the entire game offered was stripped away, wiped from existence. The health penalty of minus 15 HP on wearer was replaced with a 15% damage vulnerability, but only when the sword is active. Great, so this update tried to kill Hybrid Knight, and in turn, made the Claidheamh Mòr Hybrid Knight focused. With its damage vulnerability, if you were to turn that into a health penalty from full HP, to give you an idea of how bad this damage vulnerability actually is, that would put your demo at the equivalent of 148.75 HP. That's less than the Islander on 0 heads, and the Claidheamh Mòr has no way to make up for this. Oh, no wait, it did. 25 HP restored on kill. Well, whoop-de-doo, that doesn't help enough to make this remotely worth using. At this point, the community gave its outcry, calling it the worst sword in the game, and honestly, the worst melee weapon demo has ever seen. Yeah, just wait until you try the Caber, boys. And with its mediocre charge and health stats, the community just made a better version of this loadout, using the newly revamped Half-Zatoichi and Splendid screen. The Claidheamh Mòr was yet again dead, but this time it didn't even have its unique stat of extra charge duration. 2 years passed, and with Jungle Inferno, Valve tried to make the Claidheamh Mòr great again, by reverting its stats entirely. Its 25 health on kill stat was removed, and added back was its longer charge duration. Things were looking up for the Claidheamh Mòr again. Finally, we have the classic ping pong demo we've wanted since... Wait a minute. Valve, I think you forgot one little detail. I don't know, it might be important in that, you forgot to undo the 15% damage vulnerability back to minus 15 HP! We are still sitting at the equivalent of 148.75 HP on this thing, but even worse now is there's no longer a way to restore health because you removed that stat. Valve, Jesus Christ, can't you do anything good without fucking it up? So, yeah, these are its stats to this day. 15% damage vulnerability when deployed, no random crits, 25% charge back on kill, a slightly longer melee range, and half a second extra of charge time. Now, right off the bat, from me listing those stats, it doesn't sound like it's completely unusable, but let's ask ourselves a simple question. In what situations can the Claidheamh Mòr do well that other swords can't do better? If you want to gain charge back faster, the Persian Persuader and Splendid Screen already do a much better job of that, and you're not missing HP or having a damage vulnerability. Now, being a Hybrid Knight, sure, that's a good situation for it. Pop some pills on the class and finish them off with a sword, and then you're rewarded with your charge restored if you're using the Tide Turner. Yeah, only, what's the point? When Hybrid Knighting with the Islander, if you switch to your sword and finish them off, you're rewarded with extra max HP, a little bit of health restore, and overall better movement speed. It's worth trying to do, it's a good risk and reward situation. With the Claidheamh Mòr, say it's against a soldier for example, Is it really worth running at him and getting blasted apart with the damage vulnerability from him shooting his feet? Or would you rather just shoot another pill at him? Okay, sure, you might be out of pills and need to reload. Well, even if you're reloading that one pill isn't much slower than switching with the slow weapon switch and trying to charge at him. And what's your incentive? What's your reward? Sure, you get instant charge back with the Tide Turner, but if you've been in a grenade fight with a soldier, you've probably gotten your charge back already in the time it took you to get his health that low. So, would you risk it? Would you run at him with the Tide Turner and the damage vulnerability of the Claidheamh Mòr? What if he shoots you? Keep in mind that the Tide Turner loses charge even during an active charge if you take any damage. And yeah, with your damage vulnerability, it's even worse. If the soldier shoots you once, you're not going to make it. And then what have you done? You've put yourself in a position where you have no pills loaded and you're just sitting out there with no charge, no means of escape, with a sword that has a damage vulnerability. It doesn't matter how low the soldier's health is. He could be on 1 HP. He's going to destroy you. The only thing I can think of that the Tide Turner and Claidheamh Mòr could do that other swords can't, say the soldier hops around a corner and into a bunch of teammates. Now, he's trying to get healed at this point, assuming you can get to him in time, because keep in mind, the Tide Turner can only mini-crit. It can't actually full-on crit, so you better get him before he gets any health back. You could charge around the corner, decapitate him, and charge out of there instantaneously before the team even realizes what's going on. But here's the problem with that. If you can't see where he's going, if he hops behind a corner into a bunch of teammates, if you can't see what's out there, you're probably going to charge into a mini-sentry, or a pyro who's already holding down M1. You could run into damage accidentally and get stuck anyway. Or, if you can see clearly that there's no pyros around, there's no mini-sentries, if you can see the soldier clearly by his teammates, here's the problem with that. They can also see you. They're going to see you coming and they're going to shoot you, and then it's the same problem as earlier. You've lost your charge, you have no means of escape, and you have the damage vulnerability and no pills loaded. Even if you have pills loaded, you're probably not escaping from a full team. So, this is the problem. Why would you not have just shot him first? There is no reason to switch to your sword to kill him. Now, even if you want to make this extremely specific situation of none of the teammates happen to be looking in your direction, not even the soldier who knows you're coming after him, and you charge in there, yeah, here's the problem with that. Yeah, they're gonna hear you coming, and they're gonna turn around anyway. What can you do? Why would you not just shoot him first? Save you all the trouble and all of these potential situations where you can get killed. Look, this risk-reward is not balanced. There's a very slim chance of a reward that you probably already have versus 1.5 million different ways you could get yourself killed. You can't even do the classic ping-pong tactic anymore. See, because the Tide Turner was nerfed to only do mini crits on Shield Bash and not full crits, you're still going to need to chip away at their health with a grenade launcher first. You know, unless you know for a fact that the 2 or 3 or more people you're going after are on such low health that you can kill them with one shot from a mini crit with the Claidheamh Mòr, and they're not going to find a health pack, or get healed from a medic, or just run away in that time back to spawn. Again, what's the point? Do you just want a challenge? Okay, see, the Eyelander with no heads already offers the same challenge. The vulnerability equivalent of 148.75 HP and the Eyelander's 150 HP when both of these weapons are hybrid knighting is not that different. 1.2 HP difference? Are you really going to say it's more of a challenge with just that amount of a difference? And here's the thing, Eyelander's a bit more challenging. It actively takes away that health. The Claidheamh Mòr only does that when you're carrying the sword. And the Eyelander rewards you for your efforts. So if you're going to put up with its lower health, you could potentially get a reward for actually doing well with it, instead of the Claidheamh Mòr, which gives you nothing. The only way I can see the Claidheamh Mòr in its current state being viable over other swords is in 6v6 competitive. See, you're probably not going to get all those kills with the Eyelander anyway up against competent players, and then when you're killed with it, you're back down to start. You've got 0 heads, you've got less health than a stock demo, and you're vulnerable no matter what you do. The Claidheamh Mòr, you're not punished until you pull out the sword, and at that point, there's not a lot of teammates around, you can probably be a pretty good pick class. But see, here's the problem. That's Scout's job. And aside from that, If you're playing real competitive against competent players, where in the hell are you going to find a team that's not going to yell at you for using the Claidheamh Mòr and Tide Turner over the Sticky Spammer? I mean, the Sticky Launcher, of course. Now, I know throughout this whole video, I've been constantly comparing the Claidheamh Mòr to the Eyelander, and that's not just because it was the first sword aside from the Eyelander. The Claidheamh Mòr is trying to juggle being a jack-of-all-trades sword just like the Eyelander. The only problem is, it's bad at everything, while the Eyelander in the right hands is good for anything. And quick, before you stock Demo Elitists tell me I'm wrong for that statement, hear me out. Go full Demo Knight with the Eyelander. Get 4 heads. It doesn't matter that you get 5 because you're not going to keep the shield anyway. See, get 4 heads with the Eyelander, and while you're outside of spawn, this won't work if you do it inside because it'll respawn you. While you're outside of spawn, take your loadout and replace the shield and the booties with a grenade launcher and sticky launcher of your choice, but keep the Eyelander. Walk into the resupply cabinet, you've still got all your heads, and at that point, you're almost as fast as a scout, you've got 210 HP, and aside from the switch speed penalty on melee, which if you're going stock demo, you're probably not using melee all that much anyway, you are just a better upgraded version of the stock demo. And yeah, don't tell Valve I told you guys this, because they still haven't fixed that, and it's pretty funny. So now that we've spent the last 16 minutes talking about how bad the Claidheamh Mòr is, what could we do to fix it? Okay, so first of all, Valve, get rid of that stupid damage vulnerability and give it the minus 15 HP on wearer back. On top of that, would it be overpowered to have the 25 health restored on kill again? I'm not talking about getting rid of the 25% charge on kill again. I'm talking about keeping them both. Give you a reason to Hybrid Knight and risk it for more HP and maybe more charge instead of just, getting the charge back that you probably already have. Also, this sword is pretty freaking long. Why does it have the same range as the Eyelander? So think about this. I propose these stats for an actually good Claidheamh Mòr. No random crits. Minus 15 health points on wearer. This affects both the sword and the grenade launcher, whichever you're holding. A slightly longer melee range than all other swords, and that would also help balance with its slightly longer charge duration and make it a little more viable. See, it would extend the extra charge by just a tiny amount. Not enough to be a problematic difference, but a helpful difference. And lastly, 25 health points restored on kill, and 25% charge restored on kill. Make it consistent and easy to understand, and the 25 health points on kill helps make up for its lower max HP that you can't increase. I think this would be a really good Claidheamh Mòr without being overpowered. The Zatoichi is still the king of restoring health, the Persian Persuader is still much better at restoring charge, and the Eyelander is much better at being a jack-of-all-trades sword. But the difference now between the Eyelander and the Claidheamh Mòr is while they are both jack-of-all-trades swords, the Claidheamh Mòr is much more forgiving than the Eyelander, but not as rewarding. Sure, the Eyelander will always have the potential to be twice the sword the Claidheamh Mòr will ever be, but with these stats that I propose, right off the bat, the Claidheamh Mòr punishes you less, and rewards you more in the moment, instead of the Eyelander which rewards you more long-term, assuming you're good with the Eyelander. So basically, the Eyelander is for serious Demo Knights and Hybrid Knights, and the Claidheamh Mòr is more a lower skill ceiling sword that's still good at being a jack-of-all-trades, but is much more casual, easier to understand for new players. You don't have to worry about losing your 5 heads and your kill streak because when you respawn, the sword is still the same stats that you died with. And that is what the Claidheamh Mòr should be. A side grade to the Eyelander like it was always meant to be. This would make the Claidheamh Mòr a good sword, no, a great sword. Haha, there's a little Gaelic joke for you. See, because Claidheamh Mòr literally translates from Scottish Gaelic to great sword, whatever. A great sword for beginner Demo Knights to start with before moving on to more advanced and punishing swords like the Eyelander and Zatoichi. Guys, let's spread the word of this and get Valve to implement these changes. Frickin' hashtag save the Claidheamh Mòr or something. Actually, come to think of it, that's gonna be really hard to spell. Whatever. I want to see this sword finally put to rest in a good place and be there for new players to easily get into Demo Knight, and without learning to rely on extra damage or random crits as a crutch. Demo Knight is so hard to break into, we really need a sword like this for new players. So let's give this sword the attention and care it needs for the sake of Demo Knighting in the community. And not just because I bought a strange, unusual one that's collecting dust.